actually, that's a really good segue. We've talked a lot about the genesis and the purpose of Sanctuary. Let's talk about the physical space, because I remember the first time I walked in, and I was really impressed, because this is not just a quiet corner. You bring this you bring the works, and this is a really impressive logistical setup. So what does Sanctuary include?
So Sanctuary, a full Sanctuary, I've got an abbreviated and I have a full. A full Sanctuary includes a sleeping space, so I have cots set up, I have blankets, stuffed animals, I have some weighted stuffed animals, I have pillows and things like that, even earplugs and sleep masks that are disposable that are available for people to use if they just need to take a nap. I have a seating area that consists of, general seating, but also these great big, comfy, fold-up.
Going to interject, I have never once seen a child use the stuffed animals, but I can laundry list the adults I have seen use those, myself included. I say shamelessly. I think I used one of your little blue teddy bears.
Yep. But yeah, we have the recliner chairs. We've got 2 big recliner chairs that we bring from our personal collection. I usually create a coloring corner. Usually have snacks on hand.
I didn't even know about the coloring corner.
Yes. So because there are a lot of people who decompress by coloring.
Yeah.
So,
it makes perfect sense.
We've brought in coloring. We've brought in fidget toys, generally quiet fidget toys. I have noisy ones. If you ever come to visit and you need one, I will let you have one when you're leaving.
We have to balance the group against
we have to balance it. But I do have them. And of course, the snacks, my stinking gummies that we all love. I love Arizona tea gummies. They're the best. Not sponsored. And then usually hot and cold drinks. So what we've tried to do over the last almost 2 years now is think about the varying degrees of neurodivergence and what some of those safe vices are for those various degrees of neurodivergence to regather their spoons, essentially.
Yeah.
So we try to provide a lot. Now, if we're at something like Medfair, unfortunately, I don't have the space to provide for that, and we're all running so much that it's really more of a, you're exhausted, go take a nap. That type of situation. But generally speaking, if it's a big event that's not open to the public, then we're going to have all of our options available.
Now, your logistical kit, you have, was it 10 by 10 pop-up?
I have 2 10 by 10 pop-ups. I have access to a 14 by 14 pavilion that is freely loaned to me by Namron. We are in the process of trying to get our personal pavilion up specifically for Sanctuary.
Okay.
There's several supplies there that we're still trying to get funding for so that we can get her up and standing. And then, of course, all of the cots. We have 5 cots, both low to the ground and taller for people who it's harder to get off the ground. All of those are our personal property, mine and Odd's. And then, of course, we did have a lot of blankets donated during Medfair, which was wonderful. I can pretty much transfer everything or transport everything with the exception of the pavilion in the back of my car.
Okay. So when you say 5 cots, is that including the reclining chairs?
No.
So you have 2 reclining chairs?
I have 2 reclining chairs.
5 cots.
5 cots. 2 small camp chairs, a couple of folding tables, some totes of goodies, if you will, and then the 2 pop-ups. And the pop-ups, we don't necessarily use both of them all the time. I usually bring a spare just in case.
Yeah. So honestly, that's a massive logistical envelope. That's probably an hour to load the car at the house. And how many people do you usually rope into setting this up? Is it you and your husband, or is it? So
usually setups, it's kind of hit or miss. It's very dependent on if we've got an event where some of my crew are going to be camping, or if there are just extra people that can lend a hand. Generally speaking, if it's just me and Odd, then it's just the two of us setting everything up. Generally, though, it's usually just two people getting it all set up.
Now, taking out of the equation, getting it from the car to the location, because that's always a hit or miss. Whether you can't drive a car in a building as much as some of us want to try.
Yeah.
How long? Let's assume for a second that someone gave you like a classroom and you got to set up full sanctuary, and this was going to be a large event. How long do you think it would take you to set up all the cots, the tables, the chairs, the stacks, your signage? Or is that like an hour? Is that a 2-hour process?
Of course, it's going to vary greatly on the space.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, I can have a classroom set up in about an hour to an hour and a half.
Okay.
Depending also on lighting, because I have light covers now as well. So, like at LPT, we had the back end of a very large conference room, and all of those lights were on one circuit.
Oh yeah, you can't blank the whole thing.
Yeah.
So you just like magnets all them up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, and that was the thing that actually took the longest, was trying to figure out how to get them up there because I didn't have a ladder. But in situations like that, I have a room divider set up that I can set up that have the, like the photography backdrop frames.
Oh, yeah.
Those things, every barony should have like 12 of them. They're fantastic.
Yeah, I know Northkeep's got like the Great Wall of China's worth in their storage.
They're fantastic. They're small. They're easy to transport. I highly recommend. But I have 4 of them, and I can, like at LPT, I was able to make a separate sleeping area and a separate like quiet coloring and snacking area, and still be able to darken all of that. So
what are you using? Are you like blocking out all the light, or are you using like a diffuser to?
So it's like a classroom diffuser. So it would be for like those 2x4 lights. It's a fabric that's been printed, but it's still thin enough to allow some ambient light through.
Okay, so kind of a color diffuser, soften everything. Okay. I'm saying this because we're in the middle of a studio where I've probably got 20 yards of butcher paper and paper clips, keeping all the light from drowning us out. So I 100%. And we did, for my wife's elevation, we actually did kind of looking back, I should have used magnets, but we figured out when we got there that the room was on the same circuit as the hallway, so we couldn't turn the light out. So we used actually color gels and tinfoil to shape the light down to smaller squares, and then we taped them in with tape. We layered the gels. One of the people who's with us, her degree is in stage management. Oh, that's awesome. So she layered the gels, and we used painter's tape, and then we put this whole, we had 2 people lift this whole Frankenstein's monster up while someone ran around with painter's tape to hold it in.
Nice.
We're sure it's going to work. And all of a sudden it gets up there and the whole room, this really soft glow. And it was like, okay, that's what we were going for. Wow. So this is not just a chair, a table, and a closed door. You really sculpt and shape these places to your needs.
And I try to work with the space that I have. Yule this year had a fantastic collapsible wall type setup that was already there.
Oh,
like a room divider.
Yep.
And we utilized that so we wouldn't have to use the backdrops. It was a little bit sturdier and it was just easier. But generally speaking, if I have to put up a pavilion, for this particular pavilion, one person can put it up.
Yeah.
But
your standard pop-up style.
Are you familiar with the Tempest?
No.
So it's.
I'm sure if I saw it, I'd recognize it, but not by name.
It's Namron's shower tent from Gulf War. So.
Is this the one that got picked up during Gulf NATO?
Maybe.
There's a story behind that, I admit.
But it's a fully metal framed pavilion
that
joints together.
So it's a rigid structure.
Yes.
It's okay.
It makes it much easier.
I don't think I knew the name was Tempest. For context, you've heard of Gulf NATO. I know that was before.
Oh yes, yeah. I've heard many stories.
So for those of you who weren't there was a Gulf Wars a number of years ago where we had a extremely violent storm blow through on no notice. Like I was in my tent. We went from dark skies, calm, to my tent about to pitch over.
Oh, goodness.
And I've got a huge 24 or 18, no, 12 by 18 oval with heavy canvas and heavy guide ropes. Apparently, Namron shower tent was summarily, all the canvas was summarily picked up and launched into the ether.
Oh, and there was somebody in
with
the shower.
Someone in the
I
shower.
forgot about that.
With someone in the shower, which we laugh now. I will point out, as a footnote to that, Callantyre has their giant pavilion, and my understanding from what I heard following that was the umpteen yards of canvas, of dark purple canvas, was picked up, launched, and they never found it again.
Holy
it was
geez.
Oh, this was
crazy.
ice of 90 miles an hour. I watched 20-foot tall tents, heavy canvas, guide ropes, 30-inch stakes, knocked over like they were paper houses. So if this is the same pavilion or any part of the same pavilion, it's got its war stripes, and if not, I know exactly what informed its construction. But yeah, this is, I mean, you're talking about the type of logistics that we would normally associate with a baronial tournament water bearing, or frankly setting up the list field. I mean, list fields are huge and heavy and take a lot of people to go just lug all the parts out, and that's kind of the same ballpark of work you're talking about. And all this is before the event.
Yes.
Because you really do aim, from what I've seen, you're usually open for business either when gate opens or within an hour of gate opening.
Yes. So generally, if there's set up the night before, I'm there.
Yeah.
I almost can't set
So,
this up in the morning.
You've got set up, and obviously tear down at the end.
Yes.
What do you do in the middle?
So in the middle, usually myself or one of my volunteers will be at the location, just to make sure, one, the surrounding area remains somewhat quiet.
Yeah.
At least keep it to a dull roar, right? Also, if anybody needs help with hot drinks or cold drinks or whatever, we're there to serve the populace. So if they are looking for a particular weighted blanket, or if they just need some advice as to how to calm down, or anything really, we're kind of there just to make sure that they have somebody they can rely on. But also, the side part of Sanctuary is the safe space. It's not just a quiet space, but a safe space. So if somebody feels like they are in danger at all, they're welcome to come to Sanctuary and seek refuge there.
So there's a metaphorical sword and shield in this equation. You're willing to close the door and go, you're safe, and I'm going to make sure you're safe.
Yes.
That's considering, now to be clear, I've heard the SCA described as a campsite full of men who waited all their lives to rescue a woman in distress.
That's valid.
But I will also say, just even contemplating writing a blank check like that, when the SCA is populated with the plethora of physically large individuals who practice what is a full contact martial art.
Sure.
And yet you don't even hesitate to say this. You're like, nope. If I got to block the door.
If I have to take you on, I will do my very best. I will probably get broken in the process, but at least they have a chance to run.
And not that I've ever heard that this has ever happened or even suggested, but still, I can see the look in your eyes of, no, this is a line I'm willing to draw.
Absolutely. And a part of that is a lot of the DEI structure that we have in the SCA. We are a safe organization, but even with safe organizations, you're going to have the occasional outlier.
Yeah.
And so that's even...
We're made up of people. Let's face it. People are screwed up.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. But I'm there to support all human beings. And so if anybody feels like they have been mistreated or disrespected, or just need somewhere to go to cry, or just need somebody to listen to them, Sanctuary is there for that as well. We're not counselors, I will admit that, but we will listen to you and we will help you the very best that we can. We're not just there to provide that quiet space and that nap time area. I know that's kind of what we're somewhat known for right now, but the underlying is we're there also to protect. So we're not the strongest group by any means, but we're still there and willing.
I will point out that, and I don't know if this is happenstance or something that you've engineered, there has been almost a default deference to Sanctuary's quiet. Like, SCA events, at least in our neck of the woods, tend to be loud.
Oh yeah.
Tend to be a little on the rowdy side,
Mm-hmm.
and tend to be, a great place to go have fun, a great place for the bookworm or the desk jockey to go out and just be exuberant.
Absolutely.
But I also noticed that I've at least never seen or heard of Sanctuary having to put their foot down and chase anyone off. There seems to be kind of this unwritten rule of, oh wait, we need to be quiet here, and they'll tiptoe past your door, or they'll take the party somewhere. There's not a lot of organizations that can claim that. Like,
that's true.
Like I've seen royal encampments where they had to have an armed squad of guys to keep parties away from Her Majesty while she was trying to get a nap.
Oh goodness.
I remember, there were definitely times in the past where quiet had to be enforced. But here you are managing to achieve on multiple events at multiple locations across multiple groups, and you haven't had to put your foot down. You haven't had to slam anything. It's just been a polite request and a smile, and all of a sudden there's an almost religious reverence to, wait, no, this is Sanctuary. We need to respect that.
We have been very fortunate in that. So,
yeah.
Yes, and you're not wrong. Our events around here can get rowdy. But
I want to say in a good way, but we both know that cuts both ways.
It really does. I mean, because you have the event, and then you have what happens after the event.
Yeah.
Which, those are fun stories too. But
they are. They are. Now, I will point out, from my experience, one of the things I do need to really kind of throw into the equation here, even after it was explained to me that there's a need for sanctuary in people, I administratively, academically understood this. Okay, a bunch of people need a quiet space. This makes sense. Also, I was definitely, when I originally asked the question, I certainly was asking it. It was not long after COVID. Mm-hmm. And the majority of my experience at the time, almost all of it, was pre-COVID. So I'm used to what was arguably a very different Austera. And I remember thinking, okay, quiet space place, this makes sense. I was not really jiving with it, but no judgment. Okay, cool. Yeah. Then I remember at the Yule in question, and what led up to that. And there's nothing wrong with this, but I definitely got slammed with a bunch of back-to-back requests, which under more normal circumstances would have been brought together in a single request that I could have managed better. Mm-hmm. But I literally had just finished walking. It's not a huge site, but when you're heralding, everything is huge.
Oh, yeah.
I'd walked the site 13 times.
Oh. That is a lot.
And I hadn't gotten a lot of sleep the night before. Mm-hmm. Reference comments about kitchen and cooking. And I was in a lot of pain. My back was killing me. My feet were killing me. I was tired. I was more than a little grouchy, and I just remember, I didn't even think of it. I think someone else said, hey, Sanctuary's down. Actually, I think it was Edwin, Her Excellency Edwin, Baroness of Beesenfort, who said, Sanctuary's down there. Why don't you go sit down? I remember thinking, that's not the worst idea I've heard today. And I walked down. I think it was just your husband at the door when I walked in, and he just kind of nonchalantly waved and said, blankets are over there, pillows are over there. and I remember the last thing he goes, and stuffed animals are right here. And my first thought was, do I look like I'm 12? And my next thought was, that is a really cute blue teddy bear. So I just kind of walked over, grabbed, and he did even offer the earplugs. I remember him offering earplugs and a mask. Mm-hmm. I have a personal thing about blinding or deafening myself.
Right.
Because I suddenly feel like that's beyond, it's not so much that I'm vulnerable, but I now can't hear someone else's call for help.
Right.
So I'm always, it's like, if it's loud enough to wake me up, it was meant to wake me up. That's always been my mindset. I remember grabbing that goofy blue little teddy bear and I sat down in the big recliner, which, oh my God, that thing does not look that comfortable. But when my back hit it, I was like, oh, I could get real used to this.
Oh, yeah.
And I just kind of put the teddy bear there. And the next thing I know, I was in a different position. So obviously I'd fallen asleep and shifted a little. But I remember sitting up and my back popped. I remember going, oh, that's what was missing. And as I walked out the door, she's sitting in the corner and she has this ear-to-ear grin on her face. I have no idea why at the time. I just remember looking at my clock going, oh, I need to get out there again. So I just went on my day. But that, what was I on there for, 20 minutes?
Probably.
Yeah, I know it wasn't terribly long. But that 20 minutes was the difference between... I was going to do what I did that day no matter what. You can call that stubbornness, you can call that dedication to duty, you can call it whatever you want. I was going to spend the day heralding, I was going to spend the day coordinating, I was going to spend the evening or the afternoon helping with feast. Those were all givens. Sanctuary was the difference between me doing that in an extremely grumpy mindset and me doing that with the extra energy and reserve and healing time to be friendly. Which we already established what I'm like when I'm not friendly.
He's a grizzly bear, not a teddy bear.
And they're, okay. If there are two things I've learned that drive videos these days, it's controversy and engagement. Now, I am never going to fly the controversy flag on a regular basis. It's not what I'm here for. It's not the content I want to make, and I really don't think it helps any of us. But let's do engagement. If you like this video, please go down in the comments and leave a comment. Make sure to share the video. And last but not least, easiest of all, make sure to like the video. That helps drive the algorithm. It helps get the video views and helps promote this material. Thank you very much.